Grab your cup. I want to talk about the experiences that we have in life, particularly in the past, in our early life, and how healing or growing from that, if you'd prefer to say growing, I think healing and growing are the same thing. So whether you want to heal or grow past those life experiences, particularly if they created patterns for you, and the connection with spirituality. So I want to talk about that connection a little bit. First, though, I want to define both of those. So when I'm saying life experiences from your past, you could also use the word trauma. And I avoid using that because for a lot of people, it sounds really dramatic and, really bad. Like I didn't have any trauma in my life. I had a really normal childhood. However, the word trauma just means wound. So let's go to experiences in my life that could have created a wound. What would those be? Well, it's anything where it changes how you see yourself and how you see the world because it was stressful. It required you to cope in a particular way. When you think of a wound on your body, like if you cut your finger or you fell something and the wound has to heal, a wound is different now. Where you cut yourself deep enough to have a scar, the scar is different now than the other parts of your skin, than the other tissue around it, right? If you've had surgery, part of physical therapy is to break up scar adhesions, because if you don't do that, the scar adhesions will limit, let's say it's shoulder surgery, how you can move your arm. It'll continue to cause pain. So the scar tissue doesn't grow in the same way. It's not as flexible as the tissue was originally. That's what trauma means. That's what life experiences that create a scar or change how you see yourself and how you see the world around you. That's what it does. It changes it from where it was originally, who you were when you were born. Okay? So it makes you not as flexible because now you're sort of locked into coping strategies to make life work because of that life experience. It doesn't grow in the same way because it keeps you limited and in those patterns. So that's how I want to define life experiences or trauma, whatever you want to use that you feel comfortable with. Spirituality, here's the definition of that for me. Spirituality is a connection to yourself in a deeper, authentic way, which because you have that connection to self, you're connected to source from where you came from, to God, to universal intelligence, the original source that we all come from, because that source is in each one of us. God is in each one of us. There's a communication, an internal guidance system, your intuition, your sense of self that helps you move through life. That's to me what spirituality is. It's not religion. Religion is just whatever set of rules and rituals you've decided to align with. So if you feel this religion is right or that religion is right, you align with those rules. Spirituality comes from within. Spirituality doesn't need someone else to tell you because it's your connection to God, your own personal connection. Now, when you choose to heal and grow from experiences of your past, trauma, whatever it is, and remember, heal and grow are the same things. Heal sometimes makes people think they're broken, just like trauma can sound dramatic. But growing in life away from the past patterns and experiences that cause those patterns is just growing into your life and not staying stuck. Okay? The relationship between that and spirituality is critical. I think a lot of people try to heal and complete their past and break those patterns, but they don't address the spiritual aspect. And on the flip side of that, there are people who really work on spirituality. They pray every day. They do things to try to be a more spiritual person, but because they haven't addressed the way that that scarring has changed how they see themselves, they only get so far. You need to do both. I want to say in my opinion, but it's not just my opinion. You really need to do both if you want to have the life experience that you want to have. If you're okay with just staying status quo, then you don't need to do both. You're staying status quo. But if you want the life that you really want to have and create and that you desire and feel like you were here to live, you need to do both. Because the spirituality is impacted when you don't do the healing and the growing. A lot of the wounding that happens are things like, I'm not good enough. If we grew up in a household, and again, it doesn't have to be terrible things, but if you heard things like children should be seen and not heard, stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. For a young child just figuring out who they are, that could be wounding enough to say, I'm not important. And now the scarring is, I'm not as important as other people. Now the wounding is, what I'm feeling can't be expressed. I need to shove it down. The wounding could be, everybody else is more important. I need to figure out how to make other people happy so they don't yell at me. And that becomes the wound that is staying in your life. Okay, those are some examples. There's plenty more, but those are some. All right, so if you don't heal from those so that you can grow, right? The scar tissue limits growth and flexibility and movement and causes pain. That's the same thing that's happening in your life patterns. If you don't do that, it's very difficult to truly connect with your spirituality and deepen it because you're not listening to yourself. Part of spirituality is an expressing of your authentic self, being authentically who you are, not what you think others want you to be, not how you think you need to show up in order to be accepted and approved, not what you think you need to do to have some feeling of love or safety. That's not authentic self-expression. That's some created person which is why it doesn't feel good, why you're not happy. It's not who you are. And also spirituality is connecting to source, to your intuition, to your internal guidance system that God put in the design of every one of us. But if you're in the wounded, scarred patterns, you don't have access in the same way to your internal guidance system. You're not listening to self, you're listening to others, you're doing what others think you should be doing. And it causes things like anger that doesn't go away. It causes things like sadness and depression and anxiety. They all stem from staying in those patterns that are not an expression of your authentic self and do not connect you deeper to yourself or to God. Praying over and over and over, but feeling unworthy is not connecting you to God. It's doing the act of prayer, but there's nothing really happening below the act. Do you get what I'm saying? In return to you, if any of this is making sense, put me in the comments and I'll send you a way that we can connect, a free conversation, but connect about all of that, which is the work that we do in the Return to You program, the healing and the growth, the releasing of the past patterns, and we do a lot of spiritual work as well. If you're interested in that, put me in the comments. Let's talk about it. It's a new year. Why not, right? There couldn't be a better time than to take on all of that so that whatever's in front of you goes much more the way you want it, connected, authentically expressed, joyful. Have a great day.